6 o'clock in the Gateway City. You're listening to 88one KDHX, Mike Bishop and the Old Soul Harmony Show. We've got a very, very special person on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. It's so nice being with you after all of these years, right?
Yes, ma'am. You've been away for quite a while. Edie B.
Wow. You know, I was listening to you and everything just came back. I just remember all of those great songs you used to play that were ages old and I never heard before.
I hear you.
Beautiful music. And I think you were playing for me today, weren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
All of that was for me. I know.
Yes, ma'am. So what's been going on?
Oh, you know what's going on. As a matter of fact, this play, the play that we're going to talk about today,
okay,
my stage play that I wrote called Jazz in My Soul, a Marvin Gaye Story. And you know all about it because this is what I was doing when you called and asked if I would be your co-host for
yes,
a while.
ma'am.
And one of the reasons that I couldn't come right away is because I was writing and I didn't want to break that and then go and work for you, and then I'd have to stop and all that. But that's exactly what happened. So,
yes.
But you know the story. The play is about a woman who is a diehard Marvin Gaye and jazz fan, and she dreams about Marvin every year on April 1st, which is the day that Marvin passed away. And she dreams the same dream every year for over 30 years, and always the dream is the same until the day of our performance, and that's when the dream changes. And it's interesting to find out what unfolds after that.
Right. Now, I know you started writing it before 2016.
Yeah, way before that. And as a matter of fact, you remember, after I started working for you, the reason why I came to be your co-host is because I thought I was finished. So you remember, and I always tell you about it, and I was always excited about it. But then came to work one day, and you said we were going to interview a guy by the name of Mickey Stevenson, who was the first A&R man for Motown Records.
Correct.
And usually, you want to prepare for an interview. And I figured, well, this is Motown. I knew a lot about Motown, so I'll just ask questions from the top of my head. And, of course, I will ask him if you know anything about Marvin Gaye's desire to be a jazz singer. And that is the part 2 of what I wanted to explain to the audience, that the play is about Marvin Gaye's desire to be a jazz singer. And when I asked Mr. Stevenson that question, you know what happened after that.
Oh, yeah, but let the audience know.
Yeah, well, when I asked Mr. Stevenson that question, he just stopped. He says, oh, okay, let me tell you about it. So he went into this story about how Berry Gordy walked Marvin Gaye into his office one day and said that he wanted a hit record on Marvin Gaye. So after Mickey Stevenson was introduced to Marvin and he started talking to Marvin, he understood right away that Marvin came into Motown Records to be a jazz singer, not an R&B singer. So Mr. Stevenson went back to Berry Gordy and says, hey, this man is talking about singing jazz. He's not interested in doing an R&B. And Barry told him, hey, whose company is this? I told you to give me a hit record on Marvin Gaye. This is my company, la, 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 And so Mr. Stevenson said, okay, all right. And so what happened after that, Mr. Stevenson had to trick Marvin into thinking that he was writing a song for another artist in the Motown group. And he said that because Marvin could write, he said when Marvin would come in, he would do a line and Marvin would do a line. And all of a sudden, after a period of time, the song was written. And Marvin came into the studio one day, and Stevenson sat him down and says, "Okay, man, listen to this." And he had spliced out all of his vocals and just put Marvin's vocals all together and played them for Marvin. And Marvin, he says, "Well, what do you think about this?" And Marvin says, "Not bad." And Mickey says, "Well, what do you mean not bad? This is really great." Then he says, "Man, you ought to do this record." And Marvin says, "Well, I thought we were writing this for someone else, you know." And he says, "Man, if you do this record, get Barry off my back, that I'll do a jazz album on you." And Marvin says, "You'll do a jazz album with me?" He says, "Yeah." So that's how Stubborn Kind of Fellow was written.
Right.
Mickey Stevenson had to trick Marvin Gaye into his first hit record, Stubborn Kind of Fellow. So when I heard that, I was almost about to jump out of that stool because he just opened up a floodgate of more and more things that I could write about. And, that's the story right there. That was the story.
Right. But
Wow.
Mickey and Marvin wrote quite a few songs together.
Yes.
Quite a few.
Yes. And then after that, we interviewed Art Stewart on your program. And I set that up because I heard an interview with Art Stewart online one day, excuse me, and I called up the DJ in Las Vegas who had interviewed Mr. Stewart, and I asked him if he could set up an interview with me and Mr. Stewart, or set up have me meet Mr. Stewart.
Now tell them who Art Stewart is.
Art Stewart is the sound engineer, is a sound engineer at Motown Records, and he was Marvin Gaye's sound engineer for over 10 years. And he was Marvin Gaye's sound engineer on some of his signature songs like Got to Give It Up and Hear My Dear and what's the jazz album, Trouble Man, and so many more of Marvin's very important songs. So then I got in touch with Mr. Stewart, and the very first thing Art said to me, Michael, is, young lady, he hadn't met me yet, he says, young lady, I hope you're not trying to write a story about Marvin Gaye's drugging or womanizing and all of that. And I was like, quickly, I says, oh, no way. My play is about something very sweet. It's about a story that hardly anybody, I put it this way, everybody knows about it, but nobody has talked about it much.
Right.
Because this story I've been knowing about this story for a long, long time, even before, way before Marvin passed away. But a lot of people didn't. And here it is. Here I am writing about it. And I hope that more people will learn more about the music that he prepared to be a jazz singer. The Bobby Scott session is what my play is all about. Bobby Scott was a producer, arranger, a singer-songwriter, iconic arranger, and Marvin Gaye asked Bobby Scott to arrange some ballads for him. And in 1968, they both met a recording studio in New York City. And there's two versions to how everything went down. So what I chose to do is go by the version that Marvin told to David Ritz in the book Divided Soul. It's the only authorized autobiography of Marvin Gaye. And Marvin told Mr. Ritz that when he heard the arrangements in his ears, when he got in the recording booth and heard the arrangements that Bobby Scott had put together in his ears, they were so beautiful, and he was just so in awe of them, to where he figured that his own voice didn't measure up to the greatness of the music that he was hearing in his ear. So after a while, he abruptly stopped the recording session. And from as the story goes, he didn't return to that music until 10 years later. It was right during the time that he was doing his Hear My Dear album, and that's the album that he had to write for a divorce settlement to Anna, his wife. And it was then that he started working on those ballads again. He called it the ballads. And he completed them after a while, and Art Stewart was in the studio with him when he completed those ballads. And Art Stewart had his own story about it, and I put his story in my play as well. And I know I'm going on and on.
But were some of those jazz tunes by Marvin, were some of those locked in Motown's vaults? Yes,
they were. He did those. He did the album. The album was called the Ballad Album. He completed it after Hear My Dear, and they shelved it. It was a Motown album. He did it for Motown, and they shelved the album. And they didn't put it out until a year after he passed away, and it was called Romantically Yours. Now, don't get me wrong. The Romantically Yours album was just an album. Let's put it this way. Marvin did other songs, too, in preparation to be a jazz singer, not all under Bobby Scott. So on the Romantically Yours album, there were a lot of jazz ballads that Marvin had done mixed in with some other stuff. But the album that I like came out in 1997, which is most of the Bobby Scott recordings on that album. And it's beautiful. I Won't Cry Anymore, and Funny Not Much, The Shadow of Your Smile, Why Did I Choose You? All of these beautiful songs. You know how much I love them.
Right. Now, I played a couple of songs by Marvin Gaye last week.
Okay.
Autumn in New York. That's a standard from 1964. I think he recorded that one. And I also played I Wish You Love that Marvin recorded in 1965. So it's a lot of good music out there that people just don't know about. They just don't hear about it on the radio.
Well, right, because back in the day when I had my own jazz show, I would find these tunes, because one of the things that I was trying to do with my jazz show is to bring the community back to jazz, so to speak, you know. And one of the ways in which I try to do that is by getting R&B artists who I knew did standard jazz tunes and kind of, you know, blend them into my straight-ahead jazz music and stuff, which worked out really well. But after Marvin passed away and they released the album, Vulnerable is the name of the album that I was talking about with the Bobby Scott sessions on it. When they released that album and I heard that music, I'm like, oh, my God, it's just so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And what Marvin was able to do with the arrangements that Bobby Scott put down for him and his arrangements on top of Bobby Scott's arrangements are just incredibly beautiful. So my play is about this woman who is obsessed with these songs. And you'll see after you hear the play and after you see it in production in 2019 that she just travels with Marvin. The play opens kind of tragically, but it evolves into something beautiful. So I don't want to give it away,
right.
but yeah.
So you're shooting for a stage production April of 2019?
Yeah, and I just discovered doing my math here that Marvin would have been 80 years old
right.
in April. On April 2nd, he passed away on April 1st.
But we're having a special reading next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday on April 27, 2018, and it will be at the Word at Shaw. That's at 4265 Shaw, at the corner of Tower Grove Boulevard.
Tower Grove and Shaw.
Yeah, and I've got some fantastic readers, voice performers for this event, and I want to call them out for you if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Okay. Singer-actor Sam Huddleston as Marvin Gaye. Mix 99.5's Miss Sheila Reed, host of the Jazz Festival. She's the woman character in the play. Robert Scotty Lawrence, Scotty Lawrence.
Yes, ma'am.
He is the professor of healthcare at Washington University. He will be our narrator. Vocalist actor AJSR, a.k.a. AJ Dickerson. He's going to be Mickey Stevenson. And my sweetie pie, Mr. Michael Bishop, the host of the Old Soul Harmony Show on KDHX. And he's going to be Reese Palmer. Now, Reese Palmer was Marvin Gaye's childhood friend. And Reese played a significant part in the play because he knew Marvin before any of these guys did. And Marvin told Reese a long time ago that he wanted to be a jazz singer. What did he say? The Black Frank Sinatra?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
Mr. Reese Palmer, Michael Bishop.
That's what he said.
And, of course, Mr. Matt Hawkins, who is a financial advisor from the ESPL. He's going to be Art Stewart. And I talked to Matt on the phone yesterday, and as soon as he answered the phone, he sounded just like Art Stewart. Just like Art Stewart. I said, wow, am I good or what? But anyway, that's my cast for but you know what? I don't want anybody to assume that is all that's in the play because there are other characters, and there's a Father Gay character, there's a Mother Gay character, Harvey Fuqua character. Also, there's a police officer, the Moonglows. There's a medic, a nurse, a woman dancer, a group of dancers, and the band,
right,
which is going to be a significant part of this play. And as you can hear, it's going to be a big play. And I can't wait, and I can't even believe that we're at this point. And I owe you a great deal of gratitude because it was something meant for me to be on the Old Soul Harmony show at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
Because see, I didn't know anything about your show, and when you asked me to come aboard. And then when I listened for the first time, what caught me was your theme song.
Mm-hmm. That's John Coltrane, Dear
John
Lord.
Coltrane, yes, I know. So
yes, ma'am.
I'm like, a brother that has a theme song like that deserves a girl like me to be. But, I was just sold right after I heard your theme song. I said, of course I'll do that. So
okay.
After I came aboard, I thought I was done writing, but you see that you opened up a whole new avenue for me, and it just took over the entire play, and I had to go back into writing mode, and it's just wonderful. Okay. And I have a production theater that is going to be doing the play in 2019, and that's Gifted Productions with an angel of a woman, Miss Marsha Williams. Mm-hmm. I don't know. One of the things that I found out about myself is that every step of the way, the big guy in the sky seems to always put somebody in place.
Yes, ma'am.
To help me out.
Always.
Marsha Williams turned out to be the guardian angel this time. Excuse me, I didn't want to get emotional. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's the sweetie, and she is going to be the person to put the play out to the world. Okay. So I just hope everybody can get as excited about it as I am. And I hope that I haven't confused anybody. I hope they get the gist of what the play is all about.
Right. Well, we're going to have a special reading next Friday, April the 27th.
Right, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Word at Shaw. And that's at 4265 Shaw at the corner of Tower Grove Boulevard.
And it's open to the public.
Open to the public, free of charge.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll try to have some little eatsies and something to drink and just a nice atmosphere for everybody to just chill out and
just
listen
a good
to
get together.
this wonderful play. Come as you are.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be great, and I know you're going to be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Reese Palmer is somebody that I'm sure that everybody will like as soon as they hear his personality come through your voice.
I hope so. I'm still rehearsing my lines.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
I knew that, I had to have you,
And I appreciate that.
to do this. Oh, I appreciate you. Are you kidding me? Wow.
Okay, Edie. Let's wrap it on up. I'm going to get back into some Marvin Gaye music, but once again, announce the reading. My
reading is going to be on April 27th. That's next Friday at the Word at Shaw, 4265 Shaw at the corner of Tower Grove Boulevard, right here in St. Louis, Missouri. And I can't wait to see all of you there.
Okay, I hope we all pack the house next Friday.
I hope so, too.
Okay, Edie, nice talking to you.
Thank you so much for everything you've done.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.